back to Red Dead Online. I do hope. It's been a little finicky this morning, so I'm going to hope it is active and running. Back up near the lovely horseshoe overlook, I'm assuming. We're close by. Oh, it's moved us. Never mind, we are not where we were, just around the heartlands there. But we are close to camp, close to Riggs Station. Can't seem to get away. Let's see what's in the offing. Nothing incredibly easy or quick. Besides perhaps a weapon customized. If we got lucky, we may be able to find some hideouts. I'm not sure. See if I can get into a town that would have a butcher shop and a gunsmith. I suppose Valentine is the option represented with. We could always take a fast travel out to Saint-Denis in the east here for a little variety, because we've been stuck in West Elizabeth essentially this whole series so far. So where would there be? I know there's a fast travel station at my camp. That may be closest. Let's check. This is a bit of a procrastination. I do hope we have some nice progress here in the west. Well, I did not just do a resupply mission, but thank you for your generosity, game. Okay. So this is a bit of a procrastination from Dark Souls and the ongoing Fallout series, which I do have another episode queued up for. We're standing just outside Grey Garden, believe. So I apologize to be running off to Red Dead here instead of fulfilling my obligations. It has been very, very difficult to fit in the projects I'd like to fit in around my work day. That has started back up in full. And so Red Dead is just a little easier to jump into and out of without getting stuck Sans Fortress for another hour is the only reason, really, that we're here instead of doing that. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope that this is also a nice diversion, though a little bit less of a structured one. So I need my fast travel post. Where is that? Here we go. Oh, I can't just stop by and then leave without patting Pope. Who is a ghost? There you are. You've been running around on me. Hey, Pope. Oh, I'm sure he doesn't have any fleas. Crips. That's perfect. Alright, now we can go to Saint-Denis, knowing that our animal companions have received the affection they crave. You can hear that train going by in the distance. Such a nice sound. Good morning, and very glad it's a satisfactory distraction. Hello and welcome. So we are headed now to the far east side of the map, to the largest, most modern and populated city, called Saint-Denis. And so this here is the train station. That little awning is where the train comes in, and everyone can load up their emotional baggage. And this is sort of a main town square area. Saint-Denis is a very fun place just to run around and explore. There's all sorts of little nooks and crannies and ladders and rooftops and things. It also has a trolley system running through it, which are these little rails I'm following now. I'm sure we'll see one of those trolley cars come through eventually. So I think the gunsmith is over this way, near the church. The church in question. Let's just get this customization challenge out of the way.
Ah, you came back. Such a long time. Time for a new gun, perhaps? Do you need...
It has been a while. Thank you for noticing, sir. So let's just see if there's something quick we could swap out. How much is a
I have some better quality components.
ebony
if
grip?
You're looking for the best.
Let's do that. Why not? $40 down, but we'll have a nice, sturdy ebony handle for this double-action revolver. Give me one moment. So sorry. Resetting my feed here.
I'm here to help if you need me.
Thank you. Okay, so sorry. Back at it now. So we've customized a weapon. Let's check if that counted. Good. It did.
You come back.
And meat sold, I guess, was the other one. Oh, so sorry, pedestrians. Jeez, I'm one-handing it down the street here. I believe the butcher is just over here. See if I have any meat on hand from my my many exploits. If scent glands count as meat? A question I didn't think I'd be asking myself.
Okay.
So let's stick with the tried and true here.
Done.
Oh, sure.
Dime a
One of
dozen
those.
these days.
There, good. Couldn't tell if I counted correctly. And we're at rank 99 there, out of 100 on our second Outlaw Pass. I believe the level 100 reward is actually Arthur's outfit from single player. They're calling it the Haraway or something like that. But it appears to be Arthur's blue shirt and hat that he starts the game with. Which is kind of a nice little nod. So I'm looking forward to having that in my wardrobe. So let's see if there's anything else in the list we can grab. I will get out of the street here. I sure would like to get hideouts cleared, but it's relatively random to stumble upon a hideout, and then it's even more so when there is actually an active challenge for hideouts. Everyone's out looking, so it makes it a little difficult. There used to be a really easy way to get brown bat carcasses for that sort of challenge. There's a cave to the north of here where they would spawn and then they'd immediately bonk their head on the roof of the cave and fall at your feet, ready for collection. And I don't know if that still works. It hasn't been as easy to do the last few times. Look at me complaining that they're not allowing me to cheat. But still, it's the non-principle of the thing. So we could go check out that cave and see if we stumble upon any hideouts on the way. Otherwise, the list is pretty thin today. But we did get our streak up and continued. So I should be satisfied. I'm not sure at this point if this is in the middle of the night or actually more towards sunrise. It's kind of hard to tell. It's pretty light out, but it could just be a light night. Around about this area north of Saint-Denis, it becomes Alligator Territory. And it's a little more difficult to bushwhack across the plains, as they are owned and operated by rather surly patrons here. The biggest problem with alligators, of course, is that they spook your horse, and your horse flips you clean off the back into the mud, and you go, "Oh no!" and then you get eaten by an alligator. Typically the sequence of events. Check my map here. Let's give us a goal at least up to this bat cave I was talking about. We'll see if we can meet Bruce Wayne. Or at the very least, Dick Grayson. Let's hope we get some good dick up at this cave. Pretty sure I explained that correctly. And that it couldn't be misconstrued in any other way. This is definitely getting towards Alligator Territory, and I should get back to a real road. However, it does appear we have randomly found Madame Nazar again. Hello, Madam. And I hope your sales are high. Alright, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here before we're set upon with a time travel curse that flings us back to the pyramids / far into the future to the year 2020. Sorry, I'm doing the European road orientation, sir. I apologize. Yeah, I still have not done any resupply missions. Maybe it's trying to make up for all the special stews it robbed me of these past days. It's very kind of them, but not necessary. Occasionally the challenges can be quite finicky. They do not activate when they're supposed to, and then on other occasions they activate when they are not supposed to. And it all kind of evens out into a bit of a yay! Something happened. I seem to do a lot of writing in the dead of midnight here, which is probably fine on my TV, but is likely very dark for most of you with nice setups and expensive phones, or whatever it is that you have. Rotary telephones in your pockets with high clarity, I'm sure. So all of that to say, I hope you can see anything. I'm sorry if you can't. So we're headed to Butcher Creek here, a notoriously unwelcoming commune outside of Van Horn, which has for the last several years been suffering a bit of lead poisoning, or some sort of chemical poisoning, from a mining operation nearby. Oh good. Looks fine. Sounds fine. That's the most I could hope for. Oh, those might be carrots there. I happened to see out of the corner of my eye. I've been running a little low on these. So let us take advantage. So there's been a bit of a poisoning in the water supply of this town, which actually originates at the Elysian Pool, where we are headed now. But that's all a bit of a spoiler alert, I'm sorry. So, all of that to say that the unwelcomeness of the residents of Butcher Creek is not entirely their fault. They are being quite set upon by external forces. There's another... Huh, right there. Don't know how I missed that coming this way. But I did. I managed to. I didn't know Butcher Creek was such a hot spot for collectibles. I haven't checked it much. Likely because I've been chased out of town more times than I can count. There's also a bit of strangeness surrounding Butcher Creek for the curious. Rockstar games, if you're not aware, have a tendency to have these vague Easter eggs spread about that sometimes make sense, and sometimes you take about a decade to think about it, and it still doesn't make sense at the end of the decade. And so just randomly, this shack, this rundown, abandoned-looking shack in Butcher Creek, is completely missable and ordinary, but under certain circumstances, and I forget exactly what, at like exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, or 4 o'clock in the morning, a red pentagram begins to glow under this abandoned shack, like right under that deck overhang right there. And it is about as big as the shack itself. It's a little bit smaller, but it's quite large, and you can see it beaming up through the floorboards. And people have tried bringing, human sacrifices or animal sacrifices, or there's like a Nosferatu-type vampire man in single player who attacks you at one point. And people have tried bringing his corpse. I even tried bringing his corpse here at one point at the right time, and nothing seems to happen. We're not sure what the 3 a.m. secret pentagram, what the purpose of it is. Or at least I don't. Someone out there may. I have not caught on yet. Sometimes the little things like that keep me playing Rockstar games is the overarching mystery of everything. Those clever bastards. If you'll pardon my French. I don't know why I'm blaming that on the French. It's not their fault. Oh, little frogs. Hey, guys. Toads, probably, yes. So as you can see by their name, their poisoned western toad, even the wildlife, regrettably, has not made it unscathed through the mining operation that has poisoned this lake. This is the Elysian Pool, so I guess it's more of a pond, really. But just about here, along the end of this road, this is a mine entrance, which I think is fully closed online. It opens during a specific section of single player. Oh, that's a very good thought. Jumping back to the pentagram, I'm looking at the chat here, that perhaps some fresh goat viscera from the butcher shop would do the trick. That's certainly a thought. There's also like a goat horn mask you get at one point that people have been trying things with. So there's definitely some goat imagery in the offing. But yes, away from the chat and back to the game. This is the mine entrance here. It's closed online, but it is what is poisoning the pool, the wildlife, and the residents of Butcher Creek. Quite regrettably. So let's check just in the cave entrance here if there happens to be any bats. There likely are not, but maybe we'll get lucky. So they typically spawn just there on the rock nearest the water, hanging upside down, as bats tend to do. But yeah, lately they just have not been very generous with it. You can occasionally see bats swarming above you at night, but they're very, very hard to catch. Quite small. So we may not be getting any bats, but it was worth a look. Take you all the way up here. You can see this is the poisoned water source that's running into the pool there. Take you as far into the cave as we can go just to see the source of it. Mostly because the lighting effects in this cave are super cool. Oh, that sounded like a bat. Darn. Should have had a varmint rifle out here. But I am not seeing them now. Seeing the rats still. It's quite dark. You can actually have your lantern out with a pistol, but you cannot with a rifle. It makes it a little hard to rifle things in caves. Rifling around for some of that good D in the cave, which I still believe I explained quite satisfactorily. I think this is just a dead end. Let me check. Yes. Oh, good. So this way is where the water's coming from. At some point, I believe there's a impassable wall. Yes, right here. But you can see on the map, there is a room beyond. You just can't get to it online, or at least not at the moment. But there is a quest in single player where you realize that a gentleman has been lying to the townsfolk on behalf of a mining company. And it's all very seedy. So the other thing that's interesting about this cave has a tendency, they have a Rockstar, rather, has a tendency to double down on their secrets and put multiple things in the same location. So there's another little ledge that's a little hard to miss over here. With some lovely cave paintings. Lovely paintings of buffalo and things. And dream catchers, etc. It's all tied to another collectible mystery. You have to go around finding all these trees in the world that have dream catchers hanging from them. And if you finally find all of them, there's a little collectible that shows up in that hole in his eye there. But again, in Rockstar fashion, it's quite vague because there's only one. It's called the Ancient Arrowhead. And you yank it out of there, and I think it has like a small passive bonus to something. I completely forget, but it seems to be relatively useless. And it's the only one of its kind in the game, until, of course, this game came out on PC. It was only out on consoles for about a year or so. But then it came out on PC and people had access to the game files and started looking around. And there are 3 ancient arrowheads in the game files. And no one has ever found more than one. And so we're just left to wonder, is it cut content, or are we just missing something? Similar story with meteorites. There's like 2 spots on this side of the map towards the east where a meteorite has struck. There's like a house up there, I think, that a meteorite has actually hit and gone through the roof, and it regrettably killed the residents inside. And then just behind it somewhere, I think, or I may be off. It may be here, actually. There's a crater where a meteorite struck, just out in the trees. And so there are 2. You can actually pick them up, I believe. It's like a meteorite piece. There are 2 of them, and strangely, when you're holding them, each one you collect, it also has a little passive secret bonus, which I think is to, like, heat resistance. So you actually don't need as much, you don't need to worry about wearing cooler clothes in the desert, say, if you have those meteorite pieces, is the idea. And that one, it's not even a game file issue. In your actual inventory, you can see the pieces of meteorite, and it says 2 out of 3. But there are only 2 meteor spots in the game. No one has ever found a 3rd. So it is quite strange. There's just all these little breadcrumb trails left for us that could eventually lead to something. They could be added in later. It could be something that is already in the game that we just aren't clever enough to figure out. Or it may be a case where they just couldn't figure it out at the last minute and took it out of the game but left some clues. And that's really part of the fun. You just don't know. You don't know if you're accidentally going to stumble upon a secret people have been working on for 7 years. And that's all before we get to talking about the UFOs. I'm not even going to get into that. There's no time. So I am completely rambling, both physically and with my actual mouth lips. Here, I have no idea which direction we're going or where, but I'm hoping we may stumble across something. And it's just a lovely area up here, is all. I'm just having a good time. I think while we're up here so close, it would be a shame of me not to mention this little structure. Actually, on the way there, let's check if this is indeed the meteor crater I'm thinking of. I got myself curious now, if you don't mind. Oh, and you must know about the UFOs. I've opened Pandora's box there. I'm so sorry. I had mentioned in a previous episode while we were passing by Mount Sean there. Let me stop and show you. Previous episode, we were over this way. And we were passing by Mount Sean on our way to Big Valley there. And Mount Sean is interesting. There are 3 that I know of, locations around Mount Sean. There's one of them about here. I'll have to see if I can get back over that area to show you. But it is paintings on the rock that appear to show a specific moon phase, like a fingernail of moon, specifically. And then some of them have a full moon, specifically, and what appear to be aliens drawn on them. Some of the paintings are black, like charcoal, and some of them are red. Looks to be red paint or blood. And it shows what appear to be visitors from another place. And, strangely, if you go to the top of Mount Sean, there's this little overlook section about here where the T is, If you go to the top of Mount Sean, under a specific circumstance, a UFO will show up above. It kind of seems like it's floating around this area, not quite directly over you, but out just a little bit. And it seems very small, and no one can really seem to interact with it. And then over here, if I can find the right spot, near Heartland Overflow, there's a little cabin by this this pond. And how best to explain that cabin? It's really best to see it for yourself. But, in brief, it's full of people, none of whom are alive, and they all appear to be wearing strangely modern shoes. It could be completely normal shoes for this era, but they seem strange. A little out of place, and they're all in bed. They're covered in sheets, and they're all dead, except for one person who is wrapped in a shawl, also dead, sitting at a desk at the sort of head of the cabin. And it's all dilapidated. There's not much of a roof. It's all just old wood. And if you get there, I believe it's only the first time you get there. Oh no, I've been disconnected from Red Dead Online. Ooh. Let's try to get back in. I hope I'm not also disconnected from you. I may be. Anyway, when you get there, the first time you get there, a green glow begins from above, from an unknown source. And if you look up through the dilapidated wooden slats of the cabin roof, you will see a second UFO, which looks much, much bigger and more active and is actually hovering around like moving and appears to have a spotlight on you. Sort of a, what are you doing in my cabin full of dead people thing. Yes, it does have a very Heaven's Gate feel to it, as though they took some Kool-Aid together. I believe it is a direct reference to that. So very strangely, there seem to be 2 UFOs in the Old West, and nobody knows if there's anything else you can do with them, or why there seems to be alien imagery painted on the rocks, if it's just a hoax. Like, I literally think there's a newspaper article you can find in the single player that talks about someone finding those alien paintings, and they say, oh, it's just some joke, you know, someone has been painting on the rocks. But then later you actually find the UFOs, and it upends that theory. So as with most Rockstar games, we're looking for more UFOs. There may always be more. In GTA, if you're unaware, there are at least 3, if not UFOs, holograms of UFOs being projected above the island of San Andreas. Oh, good. I'm very much hoping I'm still with you all there. I think that was just a Red Dead server issue, and not my own. Call Klaus in. I think I just got hit by an elk. Wow. I wish I had seen that, actually. So yes, the UFOs, the secret Easter egg UFOs, and the pursuit of them continues. Heard some gunshots out this way. Quite low. Another campsite defense. Well, let's try it. See if I can actually get in some cover this time. That would help. Where are they coming from? I'm fully prepared to. Please, I beg of you, allow me to defend the campsite. No? Okay. I'll wait. That's fine. Huh. Usually there's a good a dozen or so guys who spawn in, but they appear to not be spawning. This is the very, very lovely, while we have a second before we die, this is the very lovely Brandywine drop over there. I hope that the residents of this area know about second breakfast, but we can never be sure. I have no idea where the guys are. Guess I have time to loot these two. But I may just have to, move on and leave them to their fate. That's so weird. There's really no end to secrets to discover in this game. There's another very strange occurrence that happens in this cave in single player, which you can look forward to. So yes, there should be more guys spawning in here. I'm not sure where they are. Maybe they will just magically appear, but let's continue. Get a nice bath for ourselves there. I just wanted, before we quit out, I do need to run for my desk job here soon, but I just wanted to show you this spot briefly, because it is one of my favorites. Okay, I'll take it. It finally figured itself out, I guess. It has respawned me down below. Glad you were only attacked by 2 gentlemen. I'll see you next time. Okay. So this spot, just hidden up above Brandywine, above the waterfall, is very cool. There's a gentleman you meet in single player named Marco Dragic, and he is sort of a Nikola Tesla stand-in. And this is his laboratory out here. I should have waited until it was in view. This is his laboratory, him, out here. So it's a very cool, always reminds me of being in The Prestige with Sir David Bowie, when you come up to this area. And there's a very cool quest you get to do in single player with Marco and his friend, who you meet in this this laboratory. It's just a really cool spot. There's nowhere in the game that has this much scientific equipment and doodads and things, so it's just a very unique location to scope out. There's this really neat reference there that's kind of hard to see of this this old Mason's toolkit that has the Freemason symbol on it, but it's just very dark. So anyway, as you can probably tell, he is strapping things, not necessarily living things, strapping things to that board and letting the lightning up here do its work. This is a very stormy area at night. Pardon me. So I just wanted to show you Marco Dragic's laboratory there. It is very neat, in my opinion. All right, I had better get to work, and I hope I have rambled on about the various secrets of Red Dead for far too long. I hope I've bored you to tears, and that you may now be contemplating, I don't know, some form of recreational drug use just to get by. I've driven you to that point, I'm sure. I will go ahead and quit out here for now, and we will come back into Brandywine next time. Maybe we can continue our exploration of the eastern side of the map. This has been fun. Thank you very much for your kind attention here. And I hope your work days, or whatever you're up to, are going well. Please, please make it through. I will see you next time for more fun and games. And waving. More waving. Bye for now.